development that focuses on workforce development, training, and transitioning individuals from unemployment to employment through various different means. I really appreciate University of Alabama, Birmingham allowing me to do this presentation. This is actually something I used to do all the time for my job. I was what they call a senior private banker, and my job was business development. And so I had a passion for doing it. I was very successful at doing it. So I'm going to share some of my insight from the things that I learned over some 15 years of doing this. And I hope it's beneficial to each and every person. If you have any questions, you can raise your hand, and hopefully I can answer them. We're having some technical problems here right now. First thing I want to talk about is what's called effective business networking. I hope everyone knows what networking is. I'm having some technology problems here for a second here. Can y'all see the screen?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
A second, because I can't move my screen now.
Welcome. Here we go. Allow.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to get my screen to move so I can move to the next screen, the next slide, and it's not letting me.
Do you want to try to unshare the screen and then see if it works and then reshare?
That's what I'm trying to get to right now. It's
Got it.
almost forcing me to. Okay, I think it flashed out. Let's try it now.
We can see the first slide of your presentation. There we go.
You can see it, but I can't move it. So I'm just going to go through the slides in a different manner. Business networking.
We lost him. It looks like he was having a hard time connecting, so I'm sure he'll be able to join in a second.
I did want to mention, just while we're waiting for him, the USDA just reassessed their income limits for food assistance. So if you haven't applied for food stamps and you started in August, that would be a good time to start now, because I think they raised the limit up to like 1457. That's 130% of the poverty level. So if anybody has yet to apply for food stamps and wants to, I would suggest doing that now.
Do we have access to his presentation, Kiana?
I don't think so. Let me give me just a second. I'm going to try to get a hold of him to see if we can get him back. Just a second.
Well, in the meantime, I need help with food suggestions for this end of year celebration. So in the comments, if you will put something that you like to snack on or that you think would be good for catering, I would love some suggestions.
Where will it be held?
So we're thinking that we're going to hold it on campus at UAB, which is on campus, sorry. So we're going to hold it on campus for this time, and then maybe switch it out next year so that folks coming from the Black Belt can do the mileage reimbursement one way, and then vice versa the next year.
Okay.
Yeah. But we definitely do not have any plans nailed down yet as far as dates and food go. So I see Mike doesn't want Panera. We have strong feelings about Panera. That's fine. All right, welcome back, Mr. Leitner. Oh, you're muted, friend. Still muted.
We can see you, but you're muted. You know, you thought technology would be easier throughout COVID, but it has not gotten. It's so difficult to work things season work.
The favorite part is we tested this right before. And it was-
Right.
It says you're still muted. I clicked a button that says ask to unmute, so you should be prompted to unmute.
I'm seeing lots of things we do not want to eat. I support. I appreciate you telling us as far as
It's
things
just
we-
me. It's just me.
It's just me.
I'm
The
using this.
MacBook or
Can y'all hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, there we go. We're just gonna do it. I can't see y'all, but I'm gonna go with this. Okay, effective business networking. Well, as I was saying, I'm gonna focus on effective business networking, getting in through those doors. From a banker's perspective, when I used to do this, it was about creating revenue, building a customer base, and learning how you get to people that you're trying that can help you do those things. Business networking is the process of establishing a mutual beneficial relationship with other business people and potential clients or customers. The primary purpose of business networking is to tell others about the business and in turn, and to turn their knowledge and access into business opportunities. In other words, when you're networking for a nonprofit, it's about growing your revenue or getting access to different grant funders or getting access to other different donors that will allow you to meet the mission of your organization. When you think about networking, you have to think about networking from this perspective. If you want to be prosperous for a year, you grow grain. If you think about the cycle of a farmer plants grain every single year to harvest every year. If you want to be prosperous for 10 years, the next thing you have to do, you have to grow trees. You plant a tree, it takes an average tree of about 10 years to mature. But if you want to be successful in business networking, you've got to grow people. You got to grow the people that you work with. You got to grow those relationships. And those relationships are often built over a lifetime of access to various different people in various different situations. One of the things that make networking so fun and so unique is that it allows you to step into spaces with people that you oftentimes may be uncomfortable with. When it says, what is networking about? Connecting with people on a personal level. All of us network every single day. We come in contact with people that we don't know. And oftentimes we look at those people and we don't value of what they can or what access they have. So you network anyways. Building strong, trustful, mutually beneficial relationships. When you're networking, it's not about you, it's about the whole group collectively, because most of the time when you enter a networking group, you enter a place where different individuals have different talents, different abilities, and you all grow together. Just because I have access to this person that can say, if I'm trying to build a house, use that for example. If you know a builder that everybody loves, but his schedule is so full and you can't meet with him, a lot of times what you have to do is find an end to him or a network unless you get to him. And the way you do that is by building relationships with people, with past people he's built homes for, or past people that work for him, which gets you through those doors. A way to achieve goals, grow business, and get to the next rung of the business ladder together. So that's what networking is all about. Invoke the power of men in an informal or formal association. So for instance, in University of Alabama, if you want to get to know the president, a lot of times you have to find ways to get to someone else that knows the president, because you just can't walk off the street and get to his office. It takes it takes a lot to get to people at higher levels. Just some data. According to American Express, when it comes to organizational growth, business development acts as the thread that ties together all the company's functions or departments, helping the business expand and improve its sales and revenue. In other words, most of the time, business networking is about growing revenue. 95% of the top business people polled cited networking as their #1 business development source. If you want to grow your book of business, if you want to be better at whatever organization you belong to, you have to network. And networking starts from the lowest level of the business all the way to the top. This is according to the New York Times. What are the things that keep you from doing effective networking, business networking? It's fear. The human race oftentimes does not move because of fear. We are afraid of what we don't know. We're afraid of what we've never done before. And when you're afraid of something, you won't step outside of your comfort zone. And stepping outside of that comfort zone in a business networking environment is based on meeting a new challenge. I am always concerned about speaking in public, but I've had to learn how to manage my fear in order to do it. And I do it every single week. I'm always talking to people. I'm always in front of people. And so as you do those things, that fear goes away because you become comfortable, or your confidence is built in those environments that you know the most about. Lack of confidence, just which I just talked about. Taking the time to do it. It takes time to prepare to talk to people. You have to be willing to stretch yourselves, you have to be diverse in your conversation, and then you have to be able to focus on what the goal is from your networking process. As a banker, I was always talking to individuals about borrowing money, about services that we provide to them, about getting their accounts moved to our bank, about cash management, about ACH processing. All these things are things that my clients needed. So I had to be focused on what that particular client needed. So I had to learn their business. Then I have to step out of my comfort zone and talk. When you go out to meet with a client, or when you're trying to get to a certain client, you have to be prepared. Preparation comes by simply doing the research, understanding what this business that you're going out to meet with does, how much time it's going to take to get to this business. It's not a short process. Oftentimes it can take you months and years to get in to meet with a certain person. But if you're consistent in your preparation, the opportunity will open up. Okay. What can be achieved? When you're doing business development, the skill set you have to have. We're always trying to get that carrot. We're always trying to get to that next deal, getting the deal done, getting to the next customer. So you have to have this skill set to get. You have to have the skills. You have to have the competence. You have to have the experience. You have to be well trained. You have to have the ability to understand. You have to have knowledge, and you have to be willing to learn what your customer actually needs. If you don't learn anything about your customer, you can never reach your customer. You can never get to that person. If you don't know what you want, you can't get it. When you're doing business development, you have to enter with a goal in mind. Where am I going? Who am I trying to meet with? What am I trying to accomplish? If you look at this diagram here, it talks about apple. There's various different apples. If you don't know which apple you want, you may end up with the wrong apple. If you want an Apple computer and somebody hands you a regular apple, or you hands you a pineapple, you have not accomplished that which you were trying to get to. I know every single year that I have to increase the revenue of my organization, or my organization goes out of business. So when I do through the budget process, through the employee hiring process, through the business development process, I've got to be always looking at what the goal is to keep my organization running. So as a nonprofit, all nonprofits work on two types of donations, cash donations and in-kind donations. And those can facilitate various different things. In-kind donations are generally services that are provided by other organizations that help you meet the needs of your organization. Cash donations is what pays your bills. And so when you're looking at those things, you have to know exactly what you need and what you want in order for it to work. Okay. Do we have any questions really quickly? Let's talk about, I use some quotes, and Michelle Obama says, success isn't about how much money you make. It's about the difference you make in the lives of people. When you're doing business development and networking, you want everybody in your network to realize and to be wanting to be a part of your network, but you also, they want the same thing. They want you to be a part of that network. So your success in your network is about everybody, because when you become successful, the other individuals in your network will become successful. If we all have various different goals that we're trying to accomplish, but when you look at your organizational goals based on what you need and what other organizations need, oftentimes those goals will align with each other, and you all can work together toward a common goal, which is raising capital or raising the status of your organization. So for instance, I work with various different organizations. I work with an organization that does takes care of the homeless. I work with organizations that does food preparation. I work with organizations that do mental health counseling. All of us are focused on the individual and getting the individual better services. How does that work? How can I work with all those organizations? Because all of us have the same goal, is to help an individual to improve their lives, to make a difference in someone's life. Porter says, the new form of networking is not about climbing a ladder to success. It's about collaboration, co-creation, partnerships, and long-term value-based relationships. Networking, business networking is just that. You're always in a room, you're always trying to increase what you have, but you're also building relationships that can carry you farther than you can go by yourself. If you're working as a team can do more than an individual. Oftentimes our organizations get out on this island where we think we're the only person or the only organization that can do certain things. And the way you improve that is by building partnerships with individuals. What is the overall value of everything that we do as an organization? How valuable are we? And when you start to go through this process, when you start to go through this process, you have to look at your organization as a whole to determine what it is you're trying to accomplish and where you want to go. Every year, I look at my organization that I work for and determine how successful I want the organization to be. I set high standards for myself. I set goals for myself. When I took over this position, my goal was for us to get to a position that we didn't have to worry about paying our bills for 6 months at a time. We've achieved that. My next goal is to get us to doing revenue of over $1 million. I'm working toward that. But I can't get that without networking and building relationships and partnerships with other organizations. Long-term planning also helps you with long-term relationships. In order for your organization to improve its business development model, you must manage yourself before you can lead anyone else. When you're looking at your organization has to be hitting on all cylinders before you can be, someone wants you in their network. You have to be able to do these things that are going to improve what you do for your community, improve what you do for your clients, and improve what you do for your stakeholders. And I'm just giving you some people whose statements are, if you are to succeed, we must communicate. You must be willing to step out of your comfort zone and talk to people about your organization. Let them know what your organization is doing. Let them know how your organization can do how it does what it does. You have to be willing to talk to people. That can be uncomfortable at times. Let's take a look at our network, at our business network. If you look in the center of this diagram, you'll see that friends, family, and reputation is the core of your network. That's who is your base. When you start business networking and you want to get to meet certain people, you want to get in certain circles, you start with your friends and your family. And you start with how you work, and then you work your way outward. When I was a banker, my goal was, I had a very healthy goal. I had to do $12 million a year. And every year I focused on getting myself out there. That means I'm talking to everybody that knew anybody that could get me through doors that I was trying to get through. And you build a list of individuals that you want to talk to who have access to people. Your staff knows people, coworkers, colleagues, mentors, supporters, suppliers, clients, anybody that you deal with can get you through these windows. And then if you go from there, you go out farther, you go to potential clients. When you're in the sales business, cold calls are the worst calls. But a warm call, when you can get into a door with someone and that somebody and say, hey, oh, Kiana told me, Kiara told me, or Jesserica told me that I should call and talk to you about this. If someone refers you or gives you an access, you can get into potential clients faster. So you look at business associates, referring partners, anyone that you come in contact with a business can be an access point for you. You just have to use those. Okay. How can I grow my network? It's going to take time. You're going to have to look at yourself via audit, find out what you're doing, make sure you're doing the correct things, look at your strengths, see how you're positioned in the marketplace. If someone wants to buy a car and you're not selling cars, then they're not going to accept you. You have to find make sure that what you're doing meets the needs of that person. Let's talk about building stronger relationships. When the way you build stronger relationships is you have to actually look at the contacts, look at the business people that you deal with, and find out ways to solidify those relationships. Doing things that will benefit them that often seem as if they don't benefit you. We used to do a golf tournament in Vegas for our clients. It took a whole day and it cost us money, but our clients enjoyed playing golf. So we take them to play golf in Vegas. Snowboarding or skiing, things that they like to do, those business development type things that put you and your client in a close proximity. I know when we talk about nonprofits and schools with all the various different regulations, you have to look at other ways of doing those things. So from a nonprofit perspective, there are certain things that I cannot do, but there are things that I can do to build contact. I can invite my clients to different events, get them to sponsor certain things, to get them to talk about certain things, to give them exposure that gives them what they like is advertisement. If you're working with a plumbing company and you're doing an event and you want them to come and speak about what their business does, that gives them access and it builds a bond between you and them because they remember that you're looking out for their business or their business relationship. Again, we're helping others achieve their goals. You're helping those clients achieve their goals, and by doing that, the relationship builds better. Invite people to be a part of your success. Whenever you are networking, you want people to be a participant. And so if I get access to someone and I am able to close a deal or I'm able to get a grant from them for something, let them know, hey, you gave me this referral and I was able to get this grant and allowed my business, but tell them about that. And then when you get this, let them know that they were an important part of that process, because when you get them involved in that, they become one of your stakeholders. They're a part of the process. And when they're a part of the process, they're going to even push more, because if you delivered one time, they'll deliver for you again. Collaboration and strategic alliances. Collaborating with various different organizations can do two things for you. Collaboration can save you time and money, because a lot of times you're doing something and they're doing something. If you're both doing the same thing, you can learn from what they're doing. They can learn from what you're doing. Strategic partnerships allow you to, if both of you all are trying to get to a client for the same type thing or the different types of things, you can look at what's worked for either one of you all to get through those doors. Okay. There's another one called, this thing that we often overlook, is called understanding the role of the gatekeeper. And a gatekeeper is someone who is often overlooked or left out. That's someone that we often say, oh, that person's not important. Everybody is important in business development. But it all starts with you. Being the connector in your network, you've got to be able to connect yourself to people that can get yourself to the people you want to talk to. Making contacts, you never know who you need to meet until you have met them. When you're trying to get into a business, you need to know everybody that can help you get through those doors. When I talk about making contacts, I'm back to that gatekeeper, understanding the role of the gatekeeper. Oftentimes when we walk into buildings, we walk into businesses, there are some people that we often look over. And I picked that sometimes we look over male and female secretaries. We look over the security people. We look over the cleaning staffs. Those people oftentimes can give you more access to the person that you want to see than anybody else, because those people spend a lot more time with them. The secretarial staff in my office, in my previous office, knew that I was always looking for ways to create contacts with people. So I would have them to find out, who is this person's secretary? And when I was trying to get to them, I would send things, you know, if I go in and meet with them, I know their name and I would acknowledge them. If I called, I always knew who that was. I asked who it was, get their name, find out. And whenever I gave the boss something, I always gave the secretary something. The people at security, they won't necessarily tell you a lot of information about the person, but you can learn the person's habit from them. Oh, is Mr. Johnson here today? Oh, he left. He just left a few minutes ago. These type things. People often overlook the people in janitorial staff, but janitorial staff oftentimes spends just as much time with that individual, because a lot of times people who are high performers will work later in the evenings or coming earlier. And oftentimes those people are there, and you can have conversation with those people like, oh, I happen to see them. I say, hey, I saw you in the office there. And when you talk to them, they give you tidbits of information that would allow you to build a better opportunity to get them to see those people. Let's see here. Reaching new audiences. Teach what you are good at. When you go in and meet with someone, the worst thing is for them to ask you, why are you here? And you not be able to tell them what you're good at doing, what you're here for. If you're good at doing something, if your organization is the best at doing this, don't be afraid to say, we are the best at this, and this is why. Let people know how they can help you. When you're in this, when you're building your network, let them know, ask people what you want. This is what I need from you. I need to get in and see Bill Gates, or I need to get in to see this person. This is what I need, and this is why. If you're working with them, ask them for a referral. If you do a good job for one client, ask them to refer you to somebody else. From a nonprofit perspective, if you get a grant from one grant funder, ask them or any other organizations doing this same type funding that you can reach out to in order to grow your program. Then it says, go where your clients go. It is very important for you to know your client, know your funders, know anybody that you deal with. The more you know about them, the better you are. Little things count. For instance, if you send your clients a birthday card, you can buy birthday cards for less than $1. You could spend your own money, send them out to them just to say, hey, happy birthday. Thanks for doing business with us. Happy birthday. Looking forward to talking to you. Little things like that can add up. When I was a banker, I went from one company to another company. And when I left the first company to go to the second company, I had what they call a non-compete, a non-solicitation, which meant that I could no longer talk to my old clients. I could not solicit any business from them. But if they came to me, I could do business with them. But the fact of the matter, I had most of my clients for years, so I knew where they went. I knew where they played golf at. I knew where the restaurants they ate at. So I made myself available in places that they would be at. So one of the things I would do is, one of my clients, Mr. Nick Colasides, ate at this Greek restaurant every single day. So one of the first places I went was, when I got my new job, I walked into the restaurant. I knew what time he was going to be there. I walked by his table and waved and kept on walking. He said, hey, Ben, could I talk to you for a second? I heard you left. Now we're having dialogue because now he's soliciting what I'm doing. I told him what I'm doing. Hey, come see me. I didn't break any rules, but I knew that you have to know your client. You have to know your funders. You have to know those people that are in your network in order to achieve your greatness. This same principle works if you're trying to get a new job. If you're trying to get a job at an organization and you know somebody that works there, you can get a referral from them. You can also get to know the hiring people vis-a-vis the people that you do know that work there. Again, you have to use whatever mechanism is to get through these doors. Become involved, being seen on the scene. When you are seen, go to places and do things that support your community. Because when people see you working towards your community, accessing different portals in your community, they will want to participate in what you're doing. The esprit de corps that is built with organizations that work toward building their community allows them to have access to various different people in your community. So if they see you, they want to be a part of what you're doing if you're doing positive things. Reaching new audiences. Barack Obama says, change will not come if we wait for some other person or if we wait for some other time. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the change that we seek. If you want to change your network, if you want to be a part of this effective business networking, you have to change your mindset. You have to be focused on doing things differently. You can't be afraid to get told no. You can't be afraid that someone don't give you access. You can't quit. You just have to keep on going through the process. And the more you go through the process, you learn. So I want y'all to think about this. Does anyone know who this man is? I need somebody to answer me now. Does anybody know who this is?
We can't see the picture.
Oh, y'all can't see the presentation?
No,
I'm so sorry. Y'all should have told me that.
I did. I tried to message you.
Oh, I didn't look at, I can't see the message. I'm
I
so
didn't want to
sorry.
interrupt your presentation.
It just cut me off. Does anyone, can y'all see it now?
Give it a second.
Yes. Oh.
That's the CEO, bruh.
Okay, so I didn't know who he was. But so you understand this, if I wanted to reach this individual, Michael D. Smith, if I wanted to reach him, I got to have a way to access him. And the only way you can access someone like this is you have to have an inroad to him. That's a part of this networking piece. If I wanted to meet him, I got to find somebody who's either talked to or connected to him. Well, who would that be? Well, every Vista on here ought to know who he is. That does not mean that all of them can talk to him, but what it does mean is because they know him, they probably know somebody who can talk to him. And if I'm doing a good job of networking, I should be able to get myself at least close to him. And the closer you get to him, the better opportunity you have as getting access to him. The next thing is you got to think about preparing your elevator pitch. This is so important. When you're networking, you want people to know who you are. You got to be able to say this in about between 30 seconds and a minute. Less than a minute, your speech. You got to give your elevator speech so people hear you, know what you are, what you stand for, what stands out about you, and how you can help them. If you don't do this, you're just in the room. You're just in the room walking around, has no benefit for you at all. Work in the room. This is another important part of networking. When you're at these social events, these meetings and things, don't just talk to the same people. Go out and reach out to other individuals that you don't know. Get out of your comfort zone. Follow-up stages. Don't talk yourself out of it. It is hard and nervous to talk to people oftentimes, but the more you talk to them, the better you build your network. Also, 24 to 72 hours. When you meet an individual that you're trying to connect with, 24 to 72 hours, you need to be contacting them again. And just something simple as, I'm glad to spend some time with you. I'd like to set up a next meeting with you to talk about this or that. So you always want to be doing those things to make sure that they don't forget about you, because various people go through various stages. And so the more you stay in contact with them, the better you are. Know what interests your contact. Again, we have already talked about that, understanding what they need, what they want, and what they like. Use invitations wisely. If I've got in to talk to Mr. Smith, if I got an opportunity to talk to him, when I get there, I'm going to be prepared to have a discussion with him about what I came for. I'm going to get in and I'm going to get out. And kind of let him know, hey, this is what I was here for. This is what I need help with. How can you help me this? And you move on. This is another very important one, is invent your own event. Always seize the opportunity when you come in contact with people in your network to build an event around what you're trying to accomplish. If you invent your own event, you'll always be climbing that ladder. You'll always be able to get to the next realm, because people will always, it's like having you like an ongoing trade show. You're always there talking about what you're doing, knowing your story. Do we have any questions, any thoughts? Network plan, enrich your network. Identify 3 or 4 actions. You need to identify some things after we get off this call, things that you can do to expand your network, your business network, your grant funding network. Think about all the organizations that you know, and call organizations that may be getting funding that you're not getting funding for, and ask them, what are you doing differently? Reach out to people. You got to do a SWOT analysis on your organization and build a plan toward what you want to achieve. Nurture your network and it will nurture you. If you take care of the network that you're in, it will definitely lead to more business. I'm not telling you what I've heard, I'm telling you what I've lived. I was actually the #1 private banker in the nation for 2 different organizations, because I worked hard at making sure that my network was working for me. Knowing people, focusing on them, and giving them the best service possible. And regardless of what we're talking about, what we do is service oriented. What the Vistas do is service oriented. What the organizations they do is service oriented. And if you're not giving great service, you don't get anything out of it. Any questions? And that's it.
Thank you again, Mr. Leitner, for sharing with us. Like I said, everyone, I will be sharing the presentation afterwards. That's a clap. That's not a hand wave. Have to remember, like, which one is this? I definitely appreciate you taking out the time to talk to our visitors about networking and how it relates to their service as they move around and do outreach with their organizations and for their organizations, and potentially for themselves as they move towards the life after AmeriCorps. Mr. Leitner is a really great, full of knowledge if you have questions about these things. So please, 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 if you're not able to use your microphone to ask your question, please feel free to put it in the chat. If you have a specific question about like elevator pitches, ways to get in contact with people, where you should look, those are the kind of things that you guys could be asking, or if you need help with in the future. Mr. Leitner, if you're available or able, you're more than welcome to put your information in the chat so they can reach out to you with other networking questions. Otherwise, I will stop talking and give you guys time to speak or ask questions.
I'll ask a question to get us started. Again, you guys can use the chat feature. So if you're at an event and you're in person, what do you think about like giving out business cards? Do you write on the business card? Do you say like a very intentional, this is my business card, I would like to talk later? Or do you say like, can I have yours and I'll reach out? Like what do you think?
Giving out business cards, you always give out business cards, but you always want to secure that business card. And one of the things is that if you look at most people's business card, they have their office number on there. Mm-hmm. And the way you tell someone wants to talk to you is they'll say, hey, call me. And they'll say, let me give you my cell phone number. Mm-hmm. And it's important because that becomes personal. And when you build a personal relationship with them, most of the time people will write themselves, hey, give me a call. And so I make it a habit of, if you work for a big corporation, you'll have a corporate cell phone that you can use it. And you have to be very careful how you use this technique, But if you give your personal cell phone to someone for them to call you, that shows them that you want to build a relationship with them. And it gives them opportunity to do the same thing. I do it both ways because I tell people my cell phone number is on my phone, and I tell everybody you can give anybody you want to my cell phone number. You know why? Because I have a special feature on my phone that if I don't want to talk to you, it's called don't answer or block you. And so when you're in sales, you begin to learn those techniques that, you know, hey, if the person becomes a nuisance, all I gotta do is block you on my phone. But most of the time, if you get them to give you their personal cell phone number, they want to build a relationship, or they're going to reach out to you, because business cards just have, you know, I imagine most of your business cards has your office phone number on there, unless you have a corporate phone. And so that's give it to them. If you want to talk to them, hey, here's my personal number. You can call me anytime you want to. Opens up a door.
Cool, thank you.
I have one question, because I've talked to a few VISTAs and it's come up a little bit. I guess kind of reflecting on me and networking. I mean, I'm a tall white man, so it's not very hard. You know, I tell people I work at UAB and they're like, oh, you're a professor, you know, they kind of get that. And so if you're not in a situation like that where you don't have as much privilege navigating situations and it might feel uncomfortable, how do you suggest like keeping that awareness when you approach like a networking situation?
Let me just tell you this, Mike. I actually was the #1 private banker in an all-white market in Salt Lake City, Utah. And my belief is, if your work speaks for yourself. Yeah, there are some biases, and I've had times where I would walk into an office and they would call my boss and say, hey, we have a guy here, and they wouldn't give any description, but he knew what they were doing. When you start, that's going to happen. I can't stop that, but that also can't stop you from doing that, because if you find a way, people like results, and as long as you're able to get results, people are going to move past those biases extremely quickly. Dressing a certain dress can change the dynamics of who people see you as. You say tall white male, they think you're a professor. I say black man in a suit with a bow tie, they think you're a lawyer. The same, and you have to be able to navigate through those things and make them work for you. The world is not fair, but if you're going to be #1, you have to be striving for that position and saying, hey, there's nothing that's going to stop me. I mean, and I literally, one of my good friends, Bill Kenner, we worked in the office, and he was a white male. He had been doing this longer than me, but I provided different services. And I would have little old white ladies in 70s, 80s would walk in and sit at the desk and wait on me, because they knew that I was going to do that extra something for them. They knew that if I needed to walk them, if something happened, I was going to question it. So privilege is we always gonna have to deal with that privilege, but how you manage that will move you to a different line. And it's gonna be all about service, because it's like a job interview. A lot of times you use these networking techniques to get through the door, but when you get in the room, you got to be able to sell and perform. And performance always trumps biases. I don't care who you are. You could be David Duke, and if I can make you $1 million a year in sales, guess what? David Duke ain't mad. It's about business then. And that's, it sounds like a narcissistic approach to take with it, but it's what it is. You can't be, I can't give up. I can't give up on what I've known as work. But like I said, I lived in Salt Lake City, Utah. When I moved to Salt Lake City, Utah, the percentage was 1/2 of 1% African-American. And I became the #1 private bank at 2 different banks there in the same year. But it was a different work ethic. You have to work hard, and that work hard, I think that always eliminates, doesn't eliminate the bias, but it gets you past that. And it's just a circle of friends. I always tell people I never had to worry about speaking up for myself in those type situations, because most of the time the people that work with me would become offended. I kind of got used to it, and I said, okay, I'll blow past that. But again, that's how you get through those things. So that's my take on it.
Thank you. We have another question in chat from Alex. He says, what do you think the most common misconception people have about business networking is?
I think most people think it's guaranteed that just because you go out and I say, hey, Kiana told me to call you, or this person told me to call you, it's not guaranteed. You still have to do the work. The networking piece oftentimes opens up the door for you. We used to say something in sales, every tree has low-hanging fruit. You got the apples at the bottom, but most of the time you want the apple at the top. You got to work to get to the apple at the top. So your work to get to the apple at the top, the apples at the bottom, most of the time, what happened to them? They fall. But the apple at the top seems to always be, so you have to go get those things. So then the misconception is, oh, just because I'm able to use this person's name, it's going to work out for me. It doesn't always work out for you. Another guy that I worked with, his name was Jerry Holyoke. Jerry was 70, 80 years old, I think, when I worked with him. And Jerry knew everybody. We used to say he was Abraham Lincoln's banker, but he knew everybody and everybody loved him. And because everybody loved him, if you went to a place and you were trying to get inside, you got into me, oh, do you know Jerry? Everybody knew him. You could use Jerry's name, but you had to perform because Jerry was a top performer. Again, that's how you have, it's not going to always be easy. Just because you're networking does not mean it's going to, every door is going to be open for you. But when you have to use those people who say you can use my name, use their name with discretion and don't ever allow yourself to destroy that person's name with your actions. Okay. Anything else?
Very, very.
Yeah. Why do you think fear has a big part in networking?
Because it's what you don't know. Fear has a, not just a network, fear has a part in everything that you do. In everything that we do, fear comes into play. The first time you get on the road, I use it from a parent's perspective. The first time I got on the road, on the freeway with my daughter driving the car, fear set in, but she had to learn. When you start to walk, there's fear of falling. When you go in anything that you do, and the way you overcome fear is actually doing it, because you won't know that you're going to fall or you're going to fail until, guess what? You fall or you fail. So you have to push yourself to a place where you say, you know what? I'm afraid, but I'm still going to try. Does that answer the question?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Any more? Mr. Lighton, I'm going to go ahead and put your information in the group chat if that's okay.
I put it in there already. Well, I sent it to you. Okay, I'm sorry.
You okay? So that is Mr. Leitner's email, and I'm assuming cell phone number. If you become a nuisance, we will block you, but feel free to ask questions as needed in regards to networking and things that related to this presentation. I know we're getting ready to close out on our time, so I want to make sure I'm respectful of that. So if we have time for probably one more question, if there are any. So feel free to unmute yourself or put it in the chat if need be. Any recommendations about email etiquette as in regard to networking?
I got one recommendation on that. Grammarly. You know what? just
I agree heavily.
When you write it, make sure you have somebody else read it, or Grammarly, because that's what happens. Is I always tell people we write the way we read, and sometimes when we're writing, it just shows up. So just have somebody else check it to make sure it's right, and then check it again, because once you send it, it's gone. Can't get it back. You can try hard, you can send the apology afterwards, but it's gone.
Very important lesson. Also, Grammarly is free for the basic edition, so anybody can access it if you are interested. And they also have tone readers now to say if it's more professional, too casual. Just, if you're trying to be more clear and conscious about how email etiquette and how you're trying to come off in your emails, it's definitely a tool that's free and available to everyone.
Yeah, and another thing, I'm sorry you didn't see the PowerPoint. But we spent a lot of time going through these slides because imagery, when you're doing these things, what it looks like can affect how people perceive it. We changed out various different pictures because I was concerned about, well, I don't want to overlook this group of people or that group of people. And those things are so important in everything that you do, not to offend people. And it's difficult because you never know. And so trying to find a neutral place to write from or to speak from is always difficult, but you have to do it.
Anna, did you want to close us out with our last question?
I just,
Anna, you remuted yourself. I can't hear you.
I don't know what's going on with my. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
No?
Yes.
Okay, never mind. I'll just share it later.
Understood. With that being said, it is 12 p.m. So we have reached our commitment for the hour. If anyone needs to leave, you are more than welcome to do so. I would say if anybody has questions about today's presentation or AmeriCorps VISTA or your service in general. Otherwise, thank you for being here. And we will follow up about the events that we've mentioned earlier at the top of the meeting. Thank you, Mr. Leitner.
All right.
I love when people say fabulous. It's just such a good word.
It's kind of like a general question for everybody. You think there's a thing as being like too formal in an email? Because I get emails, especially from the undergrad students, they're like, "Hello, Mr. Raleigh, how are you today, good sir?" And I'm like, ugh. I'm like, I don't know how to convey. Like, it's weird.
Basic. I think it can be too formal if you know the person. If you don't know the person, I think it's safer to go on a more formal side, just basis on you don't know this relationship or how they're going to respond, and then depending on how they respond to you, you can respond in kind. If they say, "Hi, I'm such and such," then you can lose the good day sirs.
Because it's just, I'm like, I'm 29. I do not want sir. I do not want Mr. I don't want any of that. So.
Yeah, Mrs. Bogan gets me a lot. Mrs. Fitzpatrick, Mrs. Bogan. Okay. But I go with a happy medium. Say good afternoon. I am such and such, and acknowledge them by their title. Not that if you know it, or just by their name if you know it. So
I've noticed too, like even people, like even if I put like "have a good day," comma Mike, they'll still say Michael, and I'm just like, no, it's not.
it's okay. I'm Kenyatta or Kenya or Keisha sometimes. I've been Kiera a couple times too. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
But are there any other questions for those who are still on the call? If not, you're more than welcome to exit out and continue your service day. As mentioned,
thank y'all so much for this. I hope y'all have a great day.
Thanks, Annie. You too.
You too.
Will you guys stay on with the program staff?
Of course. I got to move my shoulders a little bit, getting stiff, sitting still.
Literally, how long did we wait on? Like 2 minutes.
It's okay. I'm gonna give them like another minute before I start hitting like the remove button. You can stop recording, whoever's recording.
It's me. So